In this video, we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing integers. So the first thing we want to do is color code our questions a little bit. So in this video, we are going to say that blue is positive and red is negative. So when I look at my questions, I need to understand if it's asking me to multiply or divide. So a few different things for multiply. You're going to see sometimes just brackets. That also means multiply. Sometimes you might see like a little dot, or when we're looking at algebra, you might just have 3y with no sign in between, and that also means 3 times y. So all of these symbols mean multiply. We also have a bunch of different symbols for divide. So we don't often use this symbol anymore that you're probably used to. The divide symbol we often replace with just a fraction. So 4 divided by 2, we use the fraction sign. And sometimes we will still use the classic divide sign. So please be aware of those different symbols and what they mean. Okay, so we're going to go through and we're going to color code here. The first question is asking us to multiply. So remember that these brackets, again, mean multiply. So we're going to make the first one blue because it's positive. So positive 3 times negative 7. And what I want to do is notice how many red numbers I have, how many negative numbers I'm working with. So here, there's one negative number. 1 is an odd number. Odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So if you have 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9, red numbers being multiplied, then your answer is going to be negative. So overall here, we have one negative number. So my answer is going to be negative, or red. So negative, and then 3 times 7 is 21. Negative 21 is my answer. I'm going to do the same thing with my division question. So the top number is negative and the bottom number is negative. So negative 21 divided by negative 7. And because I have two negative numbers, 2 is an even number of negatives. So that means that we are going to have a positive answer. So if you have an even number of negatives like 2, 4, 6, 8, then you're going to have a positive answer, which means it's going to be blue. So I don't even need to write the positive sign, of course. I can just leave it out. And 21 divided by 7 gives me positive 3. So let's look at some harder ones. If I have 7 times positive 2 divided by 4, and I'm going to throw an extra times 2 up here. So right now these are all positive. We're going to make a couple of them negative. So I'm going to make this one into a negative 2. And this one at the bottom I will make into a negative 4. And I've put my color coding in there as well. So on the top, the brackets here mean multiply. The line here, the fraction symbol, means divide. So let's multiply on the top first and figure out what the answer on just the top is. So right now we are going to sort of ignore the bottom and look at just the top, the numerator. So on the top we have 1 negative. So the answer overall is going to be negative because you have an odd number of negative signs. So overall on the top, we're going to end up with a negative answer. And then we multiply all those numbers together. So 7 times 2 is 14, times another 2 is 28. So I'm going to end up with 28 on the top, and it's going to be negative, so I'm going to use red. So you can do it in steps to make it a little bit easier. And on the bottom, I'm going to have a negative number still, so I'm going to divide by negative 4. And now I'll notice that I have 2 negatives. 2 is an even number, and if you divide an even number of negatives, your answer overall will be positive. So my final answer is going to be positive. And that makes sense because if you look initially up here as well, you'll notice that these 2 numbers are negative. So overall, you have an even number of negatives in the question. So it shouldn't surprise you that your final answer will be positive. And then 28 divided by 4. If you're not sure, you're always welcome to use a calculator, or what you could do is take 28 and cut it in half to get 14, and cut it in half again to get 7. And hopefully that makes sense because 7 times 4 is 28. Okay, kind of working backwards to check. So positive 7 is my final answer to this integer question.